Whether you're a Java developer or a test automation engineer, you will be using Maven to manage your dependencies, automatic build process, and also manage your entire project lifecycle. But if you're someone who is having difficulty in understanding the various Maven lifecycle, then this particular video is going to be very useful for you guys. So today is Tuesday and we will be discussing about the Maven lifecycle under 2 minutes. So let's get started, guys. Whenever we are talking about Maven, guys, Maven is what? Maven is basically a project management and build automation tool. You're going to use it particularly for programming languages like Java, Scala, or Groovy. Now, when we are talking about the Maven lifecycle, technically there are many, but the core ones are going to be the 9 important life cycles which have been kept over here. The first one is going to be validate. And what exactly validate is going to do? Validate is going to check for the structure of your pom.xml file. Technically, it is just checking whether the entire pom.xml file is correct or not. Because pom.xml file, guys, is basically the heart of your project. You're going to keep your dependencies, plugins, and how exactly the project needs to be executed, all those informations in your pom.xml file. The next one is going to be compile. And when we are talking about compile, compilation means what? Whenever you're converting the .java file into your .class file, technically that's what you call as compilation. So when we are talking about Maven compile, we are compiling the classes which are kept in src main Java, and these compiled classes are going to be stored in your target / classes. Is this part clear? Now, the next one is going to be test compile. And what exactly test compile is going to do? It's going to compile the classes which are kept in src test Java. Your test code are going to be compiled, and these test classes are going to be compiled and kept in your target / test classes folder. The next one is going to be your test, the Maven test phase. And what exactly Maven test does? It's actually going to run your unit test. In order to run your unit test, it's going to use the plugin which is called as Maven Shortfire plugin. The next phase is going to be package. After running your unit test, it's going to create a jar. And this particular jar, guys, is going to be created in the target folder, which is technically the main artifact of your Maven project. Now, once the jar has been created or packaged, we are going to run the integration test. And in order to run the integration test, guys, you're going to use the Maven failsafe plugin. So with the help of Maven Surefire plugin, you're running a unit test. With the help of Maven failsafe plugin, you're actually running your integration test. And comes your verify phase. Now, when we are talking about verify phase, it's actually your quality check. And here we are checking whether we have the decent code coverage. And in order to do that, we are using the Jacoco plugin. We are also scanning for vulnerabilities. For scanning of vulnerabilities, you are going to use a dependency check plugin, and we also verify the results of your integration test. Now, the next phase that comes into picture is install phase. The jar which was created during the package phase will be copied and kept in your local M2 repo, meaning on your laptop, on your machine, in the .m2 repository, it's going to keep that particular jar. And finally, when you're going to do the Maven deploy, the jar, the information of that particular project, the snapshots, all those things will be copied and deployed to an artifact manager. You can use JFrog or Sonar-type Nexus. Is this part clear to everyone? Now, guys, once we have understood about the Maven lifecycle, it would be super cool that we execute these entire lifecycle on a live project. So let's do that part. So over here, guys, I have this calculator app project, which is basically a Maven project. It's a very simple dummy project which is there. Now, over here, we have the pom.xml file. The first thing that we're going to do, we are going to do Maven validate. The moment I do Maven validate, it is going to check for the structure of the pom.xml file, and the structure is correct. That's the reason I'm getting build as success. After validate is going to be what? It is going to be compile. So when I'm going to do Maven compile, it is going to compile all the classes which are kept in the src main Java, and these compiled classes is going to be kept in your target / or / classes. So if I go to my calculator app folder, over here I have target. If I go inside target, I'm going to find the classes. Inside classes, I have com. If I go inside com, I have cal. Inside cal, I have this .class files. The compiled class are getting kept in the target folder. The next thing, we want to compile the test classes. So I'm going to write Maven test -compile. If I'm going to run this, what is going to happen? All the classes which are kept in your src test Java, they will be compiled and they will be kept in your target folder, but inside test classes. So if I'm going to go inside test classes, we have this integration test and your unit test, and they are technically getting compiled and kept over here. Now, after your test compile comes the execution of the unit test. And in order to do that, we use Maven test. So I'm going to write Maven test, and it is going to execute only the unit test. All right. I have the integration test also, but it's not going to do that. It's only going to execute the unit test. And in order to execute the unit test, it is going to use your Maven Surefire plugin. Is this part clear? After your Maven test, the next comes into picture is going to be Maven package, which is going to generate the jar for us. And this particular jar, guys, is going to be kept inside the target folder. So if I refresh this particular chap from here, if I open this, you're going to see this calculator app jar getting created. The next phase is going to be what? Running your integration test. And I can do that by writing Maven integration hyphen test. And the moment I do this, it's only going to run my integration test. That's all is happening over here. So you will see only one test got executed technically, which is my integration test. And it is using your fail safe plugin for us. The next thing, once your integration test is executed, you will be verifying the result. And in order to do the verification, doing the quality check, doing the code coverage, vulnerability scan, all these things happens with your Maven Verify. So if I'm going to do Maven Verify, all the quality checks are going to happen. All right. Now, once your verification is going to be completed, we will be installing, all right, the jar which is created into our local M2 repo. So I can simply do that with the help of Maven install, and the jar which was created over here will be copied and moved into your local M2 repo. Now over here, you will notice it is doing all the vulnerability check and all, and then it is executing your install. So if I go to my local M2 repo, so technically users hp.m2 repository, if I go to COM, inside COM, I have something which is called as Tech with Jatin. Inside Tech with Jatin, I have calculator app. All right, 0.01 snapshot. Over here, we have this calculator app jar coming into picture. So the local jar has been moved into your local M2 repo. And finally, if I do Maven deploy, what is going to happen? All the phases are going to be executed. All right, your validate, compile, test, your verification, all these things are happening. And then it's going to deploy that particular jar into a artifact manager. So over here, you will notice that it is trying to upload it to Nexus. And this is the URL for my Nexus. So if I go to my Sonatype Nexus, if I go to Maven snapshot releases, you will notice that my jar has entered into my artifact manager. Is this part clear? Perfect. So that's it.